Leah and DJ here on Rise and Shine for your Thursday. And as promised, he's back in the building with it. Is Jason Perkins here with us, talking about all things caring for one's soul. Thanks for coming back. We didn't scare you away the first time.
Mate, it is a joy, honestly, joy and privilege to be back with you too, and thanks for the invite.
Oh, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Now, you touched on caring for your soul. We touched on silence last time you were in, a fortnight ago.
Yep.
Where do we go from silence?
So let me just remind listeners, when we're talking soul care, we're talking about this simple definition. It's tending to the garden of your inner life.
Okay.
And we're going to talk all things Sabbath, at least the first part of it today. That's what we're going to dive into, this ancient practice, which I think has real-world applications today.
Okay, so when you see, as soon as you mention Sabbath, people get a little bit itchy in their seats and are going, hang on, is he going to start doing Saturday or Sunday? I don't know which day. What is he talking about? You know, are we getting into the days or the seasons, or what do you actually mean around Sabbath?
We are going to discover Sabbath is a gift. It's not a have to. It's not an ought to or a should do. It's a get to.
Okay.
And when you discover that it is a gift, it frees it completely into the most incredible gift that God has given us. And I can't wait to dive in.
Okay, so I'm thinking, the circles that I was raised was, on a Sunday is your Sabbath. We don't associate with anybody who does it any other day. It has to be on a Sunday. You go to church, you get dressed up in the nines, you're in the church, you come back, you have the church potluck dinner with everybody, and then you have to sit around all afternoon, not do anything. Maybe if you're very, very lucky, or maybe if you live in a bit of a worldly household when you were my age, there might be an Elvis movie to watch on television. Maybe Get Smart, I don't know. There might be something on TV you're allowed to watch, and then you've got to go back to church on Sunday night, and it felt like, if I'll be honest with you, it felt like a lot of work and wasn't a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that's some of the things that come to mind for me when you say Sabbath.
Absolutely. Me too. I grew up in a very similar tradition. In fact, I grew up in that tradition, but we wouldn't call it Sabbath because that was an ancient Jewish practice. Yeah. And we are free now because we live in the New Testament freedom and this time of grace and all these things. And so we don't have to be burdened by this thing. The law forced the Jewish people into the nation of Israel having to practice Sabbath. But it's actually an incredible gift when you really look at the history of it.
Okay.
And then when you look at this famous statement from the life of Jesus in the first century, he made this one statement, and this is the game changer. He said this: Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath.
Ooh.
That's the game changer statement, which turns it from a have to, ought to, should do, into a get to.
Okay.
It's a gift, and I can't wait to unpack it with you guys.
All right. Sounds good. You've got me excited. All right. Well, you've dropped Sabbath on us today, and we're just talking off microphone, dropping some Jesus quotes on us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I want to know, what is the Sabbath?
Yeah.
Because there's so many different ideas about what it is, how you do it, how can we recognize it, and I'm confused.
Yeah.
Teach me something.
So, really quickly, a little bit of history. When God made the earth, he made Sabbath as well. Remember, he made all these things, and then he created this thing on the seventh day called rest, which is the Sabbath. But then, unfortunately, the children of Israel, they get taken into captivity. They become workaholics because that was what they were forced to do in Egypt. Just production, build bricks, build pyramids, just production over and over again. And people really, I think, took on that identity. I am what I produce. And then God has to put it into law, brings it back and says, hey, you have to take a day off. I made this day holy, set it apart, so you don't have to be production addicts.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we come to the first century, and the Jewish leaders are challenging Jesus because they're literally walking through a grain field. This is comical. He and his disciples walking through a grain field, and they're picking off little heads of grain, it says. And then they attack him for these guys are working on the Sabbath. It's like picking up a little Nutri-Grain off your counter. That's the kind of level of work they were doing.
Yeah.
And Jesus says, no, you're missing the point. Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath, which simply means this. It is a gift, a 24-hour period of time each week. Remember, it's a gift. So can you break up a gift into 2 or 3 days of 8-hour segments? Absolutely, it's a gift.
Wow.
Can I do it on Tuesday because I work every other day of the week? Can I do it on Wednesday night and Thursday morning because of my shift schedule? I'm a single mom. I only get a certain amount of time on my own to be able to rest each week. Can I do it on a Friday night when somebody's caring for my kids? It's a gift. Anytime I give someone a gift, I don't require them to use the gift specifically in one certain way. And Jesus is saying this is a gift. It's a 24-hour period each week where you are not identified by what you do. You are identified by who you are, and you are a beloved child of God. And you can rest in that. And so that's what the 24-hour period of Sabbath looks like. It can look very different because it's a gift. Is that helpful, Leah?
So helpful.
You know, a lot of us in our upbringing, we said we were free in Christ, and Christ freed us from, religious obligation. Yes. And aren't we? We're not like that church or that denomination with all this highfalutin stuff. And yet we were even more religious about, did you hear about the Smith family?
Yeah.
I saw them at a picture cinema on the Sunday, or they went swimming on a Sunday, or they did this, or they were playing sports on a Sunday. And it's like, man, have we become more religious and putting more obligation on our shoulders for what we should be a day of rest?
DJ, I would oftentimes say I have become a legalist against legalism. I'm a legalist towards legalism. It's no different than the person that I'm comparing. And this is one of the key things. Please hear this. Never compare your using of the gift of Sabbath to somebody else's. It's a gift.
Yeah.
And so whatever God leads you to do for that 24-hour period where you're not doing anything you ought to, should do, have to, no producing, you just get to rest in God's love for you. That's the beauty of Sabbath.
Wow.
Ooh, okay, now listen, people are going to contact you about this one. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to do? Social media?
Yeah, Jason.
Yes, social media is great, Leah. Tell them.
So we've got your handle here, Jason Perkins, either on Insta, where else? Yeah,
Facebook, all those other ones that nobody actually uses, but we have to have them at the bottom of our email. Yeah.
So Jason Perkins, and that's also the name of your website.
That's it. Just put a .com after the handle and you'll find me there.
Okay, Jason Perkins. If you've got any questions or you want to talk about the Sabbath with him, you can do that over there. But mate, we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks.
Can't wait.
And I think we need to unpack, what do we actually do then on the Sabbath?
Yeah.
What do we, we just lie down and that's it? I don't know. I've got a lot of questions. I love it here. Hey, thank you so much for coming on in. Remember, Jason Perkins, look him up online. You're on Rise and Shine.